Good evening, Tallahassee. I'm student meteorologist Sabrina Uribe here with you tonight on this beautiful Tuesday evening. We're going to look out into Bill Campbell Stadium, and we see that sun is setting and it's bright in the sky, but we have that smoke from the Canadian fires kind of fogging up the area, but the temperatures are relatively comfortable at 85 degrees, which is really great for us. And our temperatures in the area are also pretty mild at 85 degrees here in Tallahassee and a little bit cooler in Apalachicola, with our dew point temperatures pretty low at 58 in Tallahassee, 52 in Marion, so really comfortable conditions for us here in the area. And with the current radar, it's really a whole lot of nothing, to be honest, which is pretty good, except for a couple of scattered showers down by the Big Bend. But so we're going to look into what we're going to do here in the show. What is that very severe weather going on in the plains, and a little bit more on upcoming national emergency tests.
Thank you, Sabrina. We have a great show for you guys tonight planned. We have dry weather expected this week, and it's going to be a pretty nice weekend coming up here, too.
That's right, and actually stay tuned for the 70 forecast because we actually have 50s in the forecast here, so I'm really excited for the cooler weather, especially after a summer of really intense heat across Tallahassee. But are you a cool weather fan, Nico? Or?
Yeah, I like the cool weather, especially when it's been so hot and I've been sweating every time I go out. And it gets old after a while, and it's going to be nice to feel like in the mid-70s for the highs by Sunday and Monday.
That's right, and of course, besides the cold temperatures here, we may even see some severe weather later on today into tonight across much of the central plains of the United States. So, of course, we have to watch out, and there's already been a few tornado warnings issued for across those areas. But we're actually, Sabrina, tell us a bit more about the local forecast here across Tallahassee.
Yeah, for sure. So as we move into the current local radar, we are seeing kind of the same stories I touched on earlier. Not a lot going on in the area, and our temperatures are, again, in the 80s, 85 in Tallahassee, a little bit cooler in Thomasville. And our temperature almanac is actually pretty average, but our high is just slightly above the average at 88 and a little bit below it at 61. But we're nowhere near our record temperatures of 97 and 40, which are pretty extreme for this time of year. Our dew points, as I touched on earlier, are pretty low in the 50s, which means that the conditions are relatively dry, so that's pretty comfortable for us here in Tallahassee. And the future radar, we don't really see too much going on in terms of precipitation, but behind me you do kind of see those clouds kind of rolling in, and then a little bit more precipitation as the week kind of progresses. And for tonight, we are seeing mostly cloudy and 66 degrees, which is pretty good. So, you know, if you want to throw on a jacket maybe or not, which is really good. We have options tonight, people. So for tonight, we are having temperatures in the higher 60s here in Tallahassee, 68, and a little bit more higher into the 60s by the coastal region. And for tomorrow, it is going to be 88 degrees, a beautiful day outside for you to go take a walk. I know my friend Ashley here is visiting from Canada, so we're probably going to go do some stuff outside. And for tomorrow's forecast, temperatures are going to be a little bit hotter in the higher 80s, but temperatures a little bit lower by the coast. And the week ahead, so the week ahead is really exciting. We do have a lot of events coming up, and we have the very anticipated Virginia Tech game. I know a lot of people were struggling to have tickets, at least as far as I knew, but the conditions are relatively the same. Pretty sunny going on into the week, with temperatures higher in the early week, and then they start dropping as that cold front is starting to move through the area, which is pretty exciting. As we see, we have 56 degrees into the weekend, which is exciting. Now, we're going to move on ahead. Aaron, tell us about your segment.
That's right. So I'll be actually zooming across the state of Florida, not here just in Tallahassee, but look at that, 52 degrees. Really excited for that over this weekend into early next week. But kind of taking things out across the state of Florida here. So Panama City Beach and Miami, and as well as in Orlando, for the most part, staying mostly cloud-free. However, the big feature today actually has been those wildfire haze across the skies here, across the Sunshine State, giving that kind of a dull summer-like or look to the atmosphere. Tampa is the exception, being a little bit on the cloudier side there, but all of us are staying in the 80s across the state. So current temperatures, for the most part, 80s across the I-10 corridor, down through the I-75 over to the Keys, also staying at roughly in the mid-80s as well. The cooler spots, I say cooler relatively speaking here, of course, 79 degrees in Orlando and then 78 in Jacksonville. But that's because there is some rain effects there, kind of lowering the temperature there across those regions. So Miami, 89 all across the board through Friday with very low rain chances. So make sure to enjoy that time outdoors there. Tampa, perhaps touching 90, 91 by Thursday until we have a slight cool down to 89, right? Pretty big cool down, right? And then into Orlando, very similar story here with mid-80s on Wednesday, warming up into the upper 80s by Friday with lower rain chances as well. Likewise, Jacksonville, mid-80s across the board here with lower rain chances. And then last but certainly not least, Pensacola here, mid to upper 80s here with only about a 10% rain chance on Thursday and into Friday with partly to mostly cloudy skies there. So radar is looking mostly dry across the panhandle. It's not until you get down to about the I-95 corridor in near central Florida here. So Orlando, Kissimmee, Oviedo is where you might see perhaps those rain showers moving through right now, as well as a few off the Atlantic near Miami and down into the Keys as well, as we have a general easterly wind across Florida with high pressure off to our north. So zooming in a little bit closer to those rain showers here across South Florida. So we have Key West here staying dry for right now, but a few showers just on the horizon here near Isla Mirada and Key Largo. If you go off to the north in Miami here, there's a few showers making their way off just to the north near West Palm Beach, all moving generally towards the east or so. West Florida might miss out on that here, but we'll have to watch over the next several hours or so. Central Florida, very similar story here, except perhaps a little bit more in the way of coverage with a few of those showers making it all the way as far as Polk County and Highlands County here. So Lake Wales, a shower moving over you right now, also near Lake Placid as well. And then over to our neck of the woods here, only a few showers here across the Big Bend. It's not until you get over towards our west where we're staying really high and dry. So about Tallahassee west, so Panama City, Destin, Pensacola, all staying dry at this current hour. So future radar, we'll have those showers continuing overnight tonight. Those will diminish until tomorrow. Pretty much really a rinse and repeat of today here, with those showers making their way across the Sunshine State. Again, not a lot of coverage just because we're kind of transitioning into that more of that drier season here this time of year. So tonight, 60s here across the I-10 corridor, maybe a little bit warmer as you get down to the coast. Or if you're along the peninsula of Florida here, staying in the middle 70s. Tomorrow, pretty much a rinse and repeat of today with those upper 80s here, 90 degrees across much of the state. Perhaps a tad more moisture as you work your way down into central and south Florida.
Thank you, Aaron. We're going to widen our scope a little bit and talk about the southeast region as a whole. Now, we do see those Canadian fires are kind of staying a common theme as we move into the area, as we see that New Orleans and Tampa are relatively smoky. I know Nashville was a little bit smoky, but right now it's looking a little bit dark, so not too much to worry about. Those temperatures are staying in the 80s as we kind of see throughout the region. But looking at a little bit of a surface map, we kind of just see not much going on in the region. We see that high kind of being sustained out there and bringing out some precipitation from the Atlantic. But overall, there's really not too much going on. We can't really see it yet, but there is a cold front that is going to be moving in that's going to be bringing in some precipitation, but we will talk about that a little bit later. Now, our current temperatures in the area are not in the area necessarily, but in the wider region. We are seeing them in the 80s. Same story as we saw kind of here more locally. Maybe just a little bit hotter here in Little Rock and Shreveport, but not too much of concern. So our winds are also pretty mild. We do see a little bit of gusts here in New Orleans and down in Miami. But overall, we kind of just see those winds kind of moving in from the east. So nothing really to a matter of concern for us here. Now, as I was touching on earlier, we are going to talk more so moving into the week. We do see that cold front start to move in, and we see not too much like that high kind of move in, and there's a little bit of a dry spot kind of there and not too much going on. And overall, yeah, we just see that conditions are pretty dry, moving in here more so in the southeast, definitely down to Miami, a little bit more humid, but granted, nothing too uncomfortable for us. We see over here that dry spots kind of moving in with that front that's coming, which is pretty exciting. I know Aaron was really excited about that 52 degrees coming for us. But yeah, so in Charlotte, we are seeing not too much change, right? We see that we're starting off in the 80s, but we come down into 72, consistent with that cold front that's moving in. And in Nashville, kind of that same story, definitely a little bit higher with 88 and then way lower with 47. And in Tampa, here more closer to home, we are seeing temperatures really, really more high, I guess I would say, 90 and a slight down to 89. So not too much of variety kind of here, more so in the south. And in New Orleans, we are seeing those temperatures are pretty high, but they do drop significantly as we move into the weekend. So that's pretty exciting. We're really glad that the temperatures are kind of starting to mellow out, a little nice change of pace from those scorching temperatures that were hitting us here in the south. But let's move into a different region with Nico talking about the national parks.
Yes, thank you, Sabrina. We're going to be dealing with much nicer, cooler weather where we're talking about our national park for today, as we do wait for that graphic to pop up. But yeah, we're going to be going up to Alaska for our national park segment. We're going to be going to Katmai National Park. It is Fat Bear Week. You can look that up at www.fatbearweek.org. It starts tomorrow and it goes through next Tuesday the 10th. It's named after a volcano that's at 7,000 feet, which is actually pretty cool. And the largest volcanic eruption of the 20th century was actually at this volcano in Alaska, which I didn't know until today. But you could see, if you're going to be going up to travel to this national park, 49 degrees for the high, average of 50. This is much, much different than what we see here in Florida. So if you're traveling there from Florida, you definitely need to bring a jacket. You definitely need to bring winter clothes because you're going to be dealing with really chilly weather. Your low was 30 degrees, which is also below freezing, so it's really cold, but at least it was nowhere near your record low of 16, because even though I like the cold, I don't like it that cold. Currently you're at 45 degrees, however it is sunny, so at least the sun's out even though it is cold, so you're not going to be dealing with it being windy or cloudy. On top of that, the sun will heat you up a little bit. You can see area-wide, we have the national park. It's in here somewhere, 46 degrees at your closest weather station in King Solomon, so pretty cool. 47 in Pilot Point, 48 in Kodiak. And then out here you have some clouds, so it's going to feel even chillier out here because you're going to be dealing with the clouds. You're not going to have any sun to warm you up out here, but you can see the dew points, how dry the air is. The dew points are below freezing. That doesn't happen too often in the south, and when it does, it's near record dryness levels, but up here it can happen more often. Along the coast, you do have your dew points a little bit higher. You have a bit more moisture over there, but when you're in the 40s, it's still going to feel chilly even if it's humid. Looking at your current radar, I'm not dealing with any rain, maybe a few passing clouds, but it may be chilly, but at least it's bright and sunny. It's going to feel really nice. And looking at our future radar, it doesn't look like we're going to see anything through the rest of today or tomorrow as well. So if you have any plans to go to this volcano, go hike or anything, it's going to be a nice day to do so. Our 4-day forecast, however, it does look like it's going to rain as we get into Thursday and Friday, so maybe not as nice to be outside. And then by Saturday, that rain looks like it's going to clear out, so that might be another good day to be outdoors there. But now I'm going to pass things off to the desk with Sabrina and Aaron.
That's right. Thanks, Nico. We're actually going to kind of switch gears here from perhaps national forest, or national park, I should say, to more of a emergency management kind of a feel here. So kind of the big news here, we actually do have a FEMA emergency management test coming up tomorrow. Is that right, Sabrina?
Yeah, tomorrow, October 4th, my birthday eve. As we see in the graphics, it's set to take place at 2:20 p.m. tomorrow, so be aware. You will be getting a text message or some sort of alert on your phone, probably.
That's right, and it'll be sent through some wireless, or the same wireless system as the National Weather Service uses any Amber Alerts. So if you have a ham radio as well, those will be, you'll hear them on those as well. So make sure, if you don't be alarmed if you do hear them tomorrow. But FEMA is required to conduct these tests of the integrated public alert and warning system at least once every 3 years. So the last time this happened was back in 2021.
Yeah, do you remember when that happened in 2021?
I do not know.
Honestly, me neither, but I feel like that's a pretty significant event for us not to remember.
Right.
But yeah, it just ensures that the emergency messaging system is running smoothly in case of an actual threat. I'm sure we all remember that case in Hawaii where that threat that alert went off and kind of scared some people, but you know, at least you knew it was working.
That one I do remember. Yeah,
Yes.
of course that caused a lot of panic there, but Of course, the keys to weather safety and preparedness, of course, here is you want to make sure you pay attention to the weather, of course, know when those alerts come out. So National Weather Service is the biggest authority on that. They're the ones who issue those warnings, perhaps, should they may come to that.
Yeah, but once again, we're going to shift gears a little bit more. We're going to pass it off to Nico with the national parks, or with the drought, excuse me.
Yes, thank you, Sabrina and Aaron. We're definitely going to have to pay attention to that tomorrow. Hopefully everything goes well with this emergency alert test. The graphic is lagging again. Now we have the drought coming up. There won't be any emergency alerts for this, but it's still a serious situation here in Texas. We may have some rain on the horizon, but please don't burn anything, because if you do, you might be at risk of starting a wildfire if you live in southern Texas. And also if you live in Louisiana, most of Louisiana, parts of Mississippi, including Jackson, the most populated part of Mississippi, are also in this drought as well. They're in the worst portions of this drought, so you're dealing with extreme dry weather. Hopefully they can get some relief. We need more rain even than what's forecast. And your current temperatures, they're not going to help very much, because the heat is going to fuel the fires. You're at 92 degrees in Austin, you're at 90 in Dallas, 89 in Corpus Christi, 93 in San Angelo. Much of these areas are in the 90s. And you got 88 in Shreveport, which is pretty close to 90 as well. It's going to be warm, it's going to be dry for now. You do see a little bit on the coast, a little bit of relief with the humidity. However, here it's just going to feel super muggy, which is not going to feel nice, but at least there won't be as high of a fire risk with the humid conditions right along the coast. But when you get into this dry air with the low dew points in an area where you haven't seen much rain recently, that's definitely going to add fuel to any fires that are already formed and make it easier for them to form. We aren't dealing with much in Texas right now, but you do have some storms firing up along the dry line with the cold front. Out in western Texas, you have major severe weather ongoing in Kansas and Nebraska, so if you have family and friends out there, definitely let them know about that. We do have some relief coming into Texas, and definitely some relief coming into Oklahoma as you head into tomorrow. You can see some storms in the morning out here, and then you have your big complex coming through later tomorrow and into later this week. So some drought tips for you. You need to try to conserve water, practice fire prevention, don't start fires and burn stuff when you have a drought, and follow directions from local officials. But now I'm going to pass things off to Aaron.
Yeah, actually, we'll kind of stay back on one slide here talking about severe weather, as Nico just now brilliantly talked about here just for that second here. So we do have some severe weather to talk about here. Not very common, of course, this time of year in the fall, but we do have to talk about this nonetheless here. So we do have an enhanced risk over the central plains here, so specifically central Kansas, so Hays down to Dodge City, under the gun perhaps for the greatest chance of severe weather. But however, anywhere along this strip here from about near the Mexican border all the way up to about Minnesota has the best chance of seeing some severe weather today. So make sure, again, as we talked about earlier on the desk here, make sure you have that weather radio and make sure you stay up to date on those weather alerts. So tomorrow, or I should say today here, day one, which is on Wednesday, that risk here is extending just about the same areas here with that enhanced risk of severe weather. So tornadoes, low chance, large hail is the biggest risk, as well as the high winds. More than likely from straight line winds, so not tornadic in nature, but most likely those high winds from straight line winds along the line of those squall lines here. And flooding also has a low chance as well. So make sure, again, you want to stay away from those flooded roadways, because you want to turn around and don't drown, as we like to say in the weather service here. So day one here, we have that cold front setting up pretty much along the front range of the Rockies here, from about Mexico all the way up through really Canada here. And what that's doing, it's allowing the chance and bringing that moisture up, that fuel that these storms need from the Gulf of Mexico right ahead right here. And we have that cold air right behind it. And when you have those two mixing together, you tend to have a lot in the ways of severe weather, which we do currently today into tomorrow here across the Central Plains. So again, we're literally within this yellow shaded area is where you have the chance for seeing some kind of weather. I mean, the best chance is going to be right in the middle, but for most part, going to be again in that general area. So we actually do have current watches and warnings in effect for some of the areas here. So severe thunderstorm watch in effect for Kansas, Nebraska, upwards near Minnesota and into South Dakota here, as well as some of the southern areas in southwestern areas, I should say, in Texas here, with a few severe thunderstorm warnings right out in effect for those areas. So again, you want to make sure you stay up to date. You want to check your local weather radar app just to make sure that you're not in the path of any of these nasty storms here. So the current temperatures across the area, for the most part, we're staying in the 70s and 80s, 90 there in Fort Worth, and also in the 70s here in Grand Junction, or Grand Island, I should say, where they at least have had some cooler weather from that, of course, rain, cool effect there. And then behind the front, you can clearly see where we have that drier air. It's going to filter down the Rockies and into the plains here very soon here. So again, the dew point of 49 in Amarillo is going to feel a lot drier compared to the dew point in the 50s and 60s here right ahead of the front here. So as that front comes in, it will clear all that moisture out. So current radar does show again where we have that squall line coming into effect here, or moving in just out of Colorado into Kansas and Nebraska there, with those reds and those oranges. So the highest reflectivity rates, and those will continue to progress off towards the east here as we have that low pressure system deepening and moving off towards off to the Midwest here. So some severe weather safety tips again: turn around, don't drown, watch for that damaging hail, don't go outside during a tornado. Even though you may want to, again, go to the interior portion of your room. You want to stay very careful.
Yes, thank you, Aaron. And now we're going to move on to talk about another type of severe weather, which we're going to talk about with the tropics. It may be quiet now, but you always need to stay aware with the tropics for sure, because it is still hurricane season. It's only October 3rd. Looking at our current activity, the only storm you can see right now is Felipe. It's north of Puerto Rico, and it's kind of drifting up to the northwest. And it's going to get pulled up that way over the next couple days. You can see it in our forecast track. We're talking by Saturday, it's going to be off the coast of the northeast. By Sunday, it may hit Nova Scotia. So you're going to be dealing with another system. This will not be as strong as Hurricane Lee was up here, but you're still going to be dealing with lots of rain and some breezy conditions on Sunday. So if you have family and friends up in Maine or in Nova Scotia, definitely make sure that they're aware of Felipe as it heads that way. You can see most of the spaghetti models are pointing it between Halifax and the coast of Maine as well. So pretty good consensus on this storm, where it's going to go. You're going to be dealing with this storm as we get into this week, and you still have a few days to prepare for it before it gets up there. But the main thing we can talk about right now, it is October 3rd. We're getting toward the end of hurricane season, but we're still dealing with multiple areas with our sea surface temperatures over 80. So the hurricane season's not over yet. You can't let your guard down yet. We still have another 2 months to go. So definitely stay weather aware and pay attention. And here is our hurricane names list. Our next name on the list is Sean, should anything else get named. But now I'm going to pass things off to Sabrina.
Thank you, Nico. Yeah, let's change the pace a little bit. We're going to be talking about some things to do in the area for this coming week. We're going to look around, Tallahassee area. That smoke has honestly seemed to cleared off quite a bit, which is pretty good news for anybody who has any respiratory issues. So good news for that. Moving into the airport, Tallahassee International is looking pretty clear, no delays, and pretty good temperatures of 85 degrees. And we see continually no delays, which is honestly great. Our pollen is, if you have allergies like myself, I'm really happy about this. Not a lot of pollen comes from grass, weeds, or trees, which is awesome. No allergies, no allergen is needed. But for our dog walk forecast, we see a little birthday dog, because as I mentioned, it's my birthday eve. Those temperatures are looking pretty good, like a little bit sunny. Just make sure you're checking the temperature on the floors. A rule of thumb that I've heard is if you think that it's too hot to walk your dog, you can put your palm, not your palm, but like the top of your hand on the floor, and if you can't hold it for more than 5 seconds, then it's probably too hot to walk your dog. So be aware of that, but right now it's looking pretty good. Nothing really to worry about in terms of your puppy's little paws. But tonight, honestly, the start-getting conditions are not the most favorable. Right now they're kind of fair, but we do have a waning gibbous, so if you're trying to go outside, just kind of be aware of that. Don't expect to see too much. Now, FSU volleyball is going to Coral Gables, and they will be playing Miami. It's going to be pretty good temperatures, a little bit cloudy, 77 degrees, but wishing our ladies luck as they head out into South Florida. And for our women's soccer, they're going over to Louisville, 81 degrees, wishing our ladies luck. I know they've been doing really well. They actually did just kick Miami's butts last week, but no one's keeping score. And for our big game against Virginia Tech, 85 degrees, pretty favorable conditions. It's this Saturday at 3:30, so make sure you're staying hydrated, wearing some sunscreen because it is an afternoon game. We don't want any heat casualties in the area. That would be pretty unfortunate. And honestly, if you do want to go head to the beach, looking pretty favorable, 72 degrees, so it is on the cooler side, but at least with those little bit of cloud coverage, you might not have to worry too much about sunburn in the area. And for the morning beach, yeah, those temperatures are pretty favorable, a little bit on the cooler side, so maybe not exactly the ideal conditions for the beach. And For the Sportsplex, 84 degrees, clear as day, great day to be outside. But as we move into the week, we do see not too much variability in our temperatures, maybe just a little bit of a drop on Saturday, so not much to worry about. But we're going to move on to Aaron.
That's right. I am going to go on the screen here. So we have those clearest conditions across Tallahassee with that big sunshine here across, just over Doak Campbell Stadium, where the Noles will beat Virginia Tech. I make that prediction here on Saturday, and it's just a few short days here. But of course, we have that haziness across the skies here. That's been the big story across the day here, across really the whole entire eastern seaboard here. 85 degrees and sunny winds out of the northeast at 8 miles per hour. Radar is dry across the Big Bend with only a few showers making their way just across the I-75 corridor over near Levy County and into kind of near Dixie County as well. So all, again, away from our area and nothing to be concerned about tonight. So the current temperatures across the area, we're in the middle 80s just about across the entire region. Maybe a tad cooler as you get down to Apalachicola. They're at 82. And then into extreme southwestern Georgia at 81 in there in Donaldsonville. So current dew points, we are sitting in the middle 50s, or I should say the upper 50s, which actually feels very pleasant outside. And after this weekend's cold front, this will be even lower too, with dew points as low as even in the 30s and 40s on some of the computer models here. So again, very pleasant night tonight. So go out, enjoy yourselves. Be a really nice and great time to do so. So future radar does show, again, those showers clearing out of the area. No concern overnight. Tomorrow, again, very low rain chances, not until you get towards the afternoon where you may see a shower or two, but that's a big maybe as those showers make their way off towards the west here. But again, overall, you shouldn't have to worry about packing on that umbrella tomorrow. So tonight, mostly cloudy conditions, temperatures in the middle 60s across the Tallahassee metro area with those light winds out of the east-northeast at 6. Tonight's forecast, we're experiencing those temperatures again in the middle 60s across the area, not just in Tallahassee, maybe even some lower 60s as you make your way off towards Thomasville and into southwestern Georgia and then southeastern Alabama. So tomorrow, again, temperatures are going to go up into the upper 80s, mostly sunny conditions, very similar to the conditions today, maybe a tad more moisture in the atmosphere, but overall still making for a really beautiful and really decent day with winds out of the east-northeast at 9 miles an hour. Tomorrow's forecast, again, for the rest of the region here, we're sitting in the mid to upper 80s here in Tallahassee, perhaps a little bit cool as you make your way down towards the coast here with a little bit of a sea breeze, but not very much, of course, this time of year as we have drier air in place. And as for your week ahead, we have the temperatures sitting in the middle to upper 80s here through about Saturday. Sunday is a big day after the cold front here. We have those temperatures dipping down to near 50s here, in the low 50s perhaps, even into Monday morning. And then the rest of your week, next week we should be into that warm up here, but still really feeling pleasant there in the upper 70s to low 80s.
Thank you so much, Aaron, for that forecast. Yeah, so this is a pretty big weekend for us at FSU. It is Parents' Weekend. Nico, are your parents coming?
They're not, because when you start talking about having hotels at upwards of $600, it does kind of make it hard on everybody. But I know a lot of parents are coming in, and at least we're going to have nice weather for everyone coming to town for this game.
Yeah, for sure. My parents aren't coming either, but for everybody whose parents are coming, I wish you guys a phenomenal weekend. It should be pretty good temperatures, pretty good conditions for a big day of fun. Yeah,
definitely will be, and we should be expecting a big win against Virginia Tech as well. They're not very good this year, and we're expecting to pretty much be able to blow them out. We should be watching a good game on Saturday for anyone visiting. You can always follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/FSU Weather.
Yeah, and if that doesn't float your boat, you can also follow us on Facebook at FSU Weather.
And you can always watch us live on YouTube like you are right now if you're watching us at youtube.com/FSU Weather.
And on Instagram, we have all the social medias at FSU Weather. We also do have a TikTok, so make sure that you guys are following that. But yeah, anything else to say?
Yeah, that's pretty much it for our show tonight. We do have nice weather expected for the next week, and we're going to send things off to the 7-day to end the show now.